points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
The kings of Western Canada reside not in Los Angeles, but in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. With Dave Manouk, with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. The Winnipeg Jets, having previously defeated the Vancouver Canucks, having previously defeated the Edmonton Oilers, defeat the Calgary Flames tonight, winning their third consecutive game against a team from Western Canada, resulting in my giving them a royal proclamation. Gentlemen, good to see you both. A happy new year to you both. It has been too long since we've all been back together in the same city, in the same province, in the same YouTube video. It's good to see you fine gentlemen on this Tuesday, the 3rd of January. Happy New Year to you both.
Well, looks like Ez is frozen. Don't know what happened to Big Daddy, but hey.
We're off to a stellar start as per usual.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, Drew, Ezzy and I already rang in 2023 in spectacular fashion. And I guess, you know what, Ezzy he's frozen in time. He's immortalized in the, you know, Ezzy, we often say here on this show that Ezra Ginsburg is a man of few words. So Ezzy, we're going to give you the floor. What do you have to say about 2023 so far? Okay, well, he doesn't have much to say, Drew, so
I think
he's
more articulate than he's ever been before, and now he's gone. He's back to Mexico.
I think he's actually at Spencer Sutton's right now in the hot tub. I think he found his way to Sage Creek, and he's having a party with Spencer. Although, according to Spencer, I'm just some other guy. Just saying. Anywho.
Okay.
That's
You're
all
not just
good.
Some other guy in my mind, Dave.
I appreciate that.
You're number one other guy in my time.
Let's do this. Welcome back to Winnipeg, Drew.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be home. Had a lovely time down south as you all got to experience the grandfather clock in action. I was not able to smuggle it into my suitcase and get it across the border despite repeated requests, but I'm scouring the marketplace for a grandfather clock that I can hang behind me so that you all have that little taste of Kentucky on a regular basis here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Dave, look, another entertaining contest for these Winnipeg Jets, and this almost seems like it's going to be the last contest where they're fielding this, or they're icing, as the case may be, this sort of AHL influenced roster, because we know that the guys, Rick Bowness said it earlier tonight. He said that had this been a playoff game, Ehlers would be in the lineup, Schmidt would be in the lineup. So health is on its way for the Winnipeg Jets, and you're going to see a much more I'm going to use the word normal, based on how the preseason and how the expectations were likely for it to be in the lineup on Friday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. But the Winnipeg Jets said, no bother. We're going to persevere. We're going to continue with the solid play that we've seen all year round. And with tonight's win, they improved to 24-13-1 on the regular season through the first 38 games.
It's impressive. I mean, it really is. And it seemed like the world was ending when the Jets hit a bit of a skid and had lost 4 or 5 or something of that nature, and not something we were used to seeing with this group. And they've turned it around. And largely, you attribute that to 37. I mean, his play in Edmonton was phenomenal. His play for the majority of this game was pretty phenomenal. So it starts for me, of course, with number 37. 44, again.
I know.
I mean, it's just crazy. And there's a couple of things when you watch that, or when we all watch that second goal. I mean, it's amazing because even the attitude, the confidence that Josh Morrissey exhibited to walk the line the way he did, cut in between 2 defenders the way he did, and credit Kyle Connor. And I know I don't want to jump ahead because we haven't gotten into the game recap, Drew, but it's crazy. These guys are playing at an elite level, and they're doing it with a lot of guys who are not necessarily their equal on their lines, right? We know that Christian Reichel, and I'm a big Christian Reichel fan. I don't think you're going to find someone in the organization, who's probably one of those hardworking guys. Remember, he's not a drafted player by the Winnipeg Jets. He feels like he was a drafted player by the Winnipeg Jets because of the fact that he attended, camps over and over when he was back in junior. I think he was with Red Deer. And so he would come here to Winnipeg and he would be one of those players, earned himself an AHL deal and then eventually an NHL deal. And I think, but so you got to give him credit, but like at the same, like you just said, I mean, imagine how it's going to look with Nikolai Ehlers, Cole Perfetti. So a lot of those chances that aren't necessarily being converted may get converted. But for right now, I mean, this is just an incredible performance by this Jets team, and more people need to be talking about the Winnipeg Jets. And it was interesting because I was with some folks and they were talking about this game, and they said, when it was tight, and I said, this isn't like the way the Jets used to be. It's one of those games in a tight game. I don't feel the Jets, and it's crazy whether we're seeing this, given the fact that they've lost 7 players out of their main lineup, and yet it doesn't feel like this Jets team is in. I'm not saying that they couldn't have lost this game. Of course they could have lost it, but it didn't feel inevitable. You know what I mean, Drew? It didn't feel like it was one of those situations where the Jets were necessarily going to lose. So from a Jets perspective or a Jets fan perspective, you just have to be impressed by this team who just continues to put up W's, continues to bank points, and have done it. Remember, everybody was clamoring, especially when you had those 3 games that you lost in a row. Make a trade. And I said, I don't think they're going to make a trade because I think we heard it in other places, not just here on the legal curve, but you knew that, for example, the trade market, the value, if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff and other GMs know that you are desperate, they smell that desperation and they say, okay, sure, you can have player X, but now he's going to cost you an extra 20, 30%. And so that's something you have to be cognizant of, especially if you're an organization that relies on its depth. Anyways, it is an impressive victory. And again, it starts with 37. Full credit to 44, though, because I thought he was excellent throughout the course of this game as well.
Yeah, it looked very similar to the other wins that the Jets have had this year. And the fact that their game looks similar is what speaks volume. There were certainly times during this game where the Connor Hellebuyck had to bail out the Jets. Particularly, I'm thinking towards the end of the first period there, where the Jets sort of fell asleep for the final minute, and Calgary had a number of great opportunities. There was the save that he made on Jonathan Huberdeau late in the game, and then the cross-crease save I think that he made off of Mackenzie Weegar, which was a 5-alarm robbery. That it was just come to it's come to what we've expected from Connor Hellebuyck. So it's almost like we're desensitized to it because he's his usual self. Granted, he wasn't perfect. I didn't love the first goal that he gave up, the Zadorov goal, and we'll get into that as we get going here on the Betway game recap as part of the Illegal Curve post-game show. But, I thought the Jets themselves, they started the game off better than they had the last number of games, which is certainly something that you've been focused on, rightfully so, saying, you can't start by being down 10-1 in shots. You can't start a game by no-showing for the first 10 minutes. The Jets, I thought, were better to start the game today than Calgary had their push. And then the Jets, I thought, got better than Calgary almost as the game went on. And they certainly were opportunistic. And look, you look at the goals that the Jets had. The first goal, was a point shot and then a tip. And then the third goal, the game-winning goal, it's a point shot and a tip. And that's what the Jets have been so adept at all year long. And that's, by and large, how goals go in the NHL nowadays. They go in from point shots they get through, but that only works as long as you're getting to the front of the net, as long as you're getting that traffic into an area where you can then tip the puck to, take the redirection and to beat the goaltender. And that's what you're seeing from this Jets team that you obviously never saw last year. And it's really what we've talked about all year round. And that's just sort of the way it is. This is a team that's battling harder, going to the harder places, and then preventing the other team by and large from getting to the other to the places they want to get to. And when the other team does, because it's inevitably going to happen, there's inevitably going to be breakdowns. Connor Hellebuyck is yet another layer that they have to try and penetrate in order to get a goal.
Well, and it's very coincidental that what was the subject of the conversation in today's media availability with head coach Rick Bowness, not the only subject. There were 10 or 11 questions in total, which you could
and they're all available on illegalcurve.com. Yes,
of course. Come on, Drew. But what I was going to say is one of those focuses was on the fact that I believe the Jets are up to 18 goals, and now it'll be 20 goals from their defense. And remember, last year they had 24, and Rick Bowness said they want 44. Well, they're not halfway through the season, and they've already producing, a significant number of goals. And so that's big. I mean, to get the goal from a Brendan Dillon, his first of the year, to get the goal, well, Josh Morrissey scoring isn't something of significance, but even, and again, the other one is a tip. And that's what he talked about. It wasn't just that they're getting goals from their defense. It's that they're getting the contributions. The shots are getting through. We've got Big Daddy Ginsburg back in the house. Ez is back.
Where did you,
boys?
I want to know where you've transported to a whole
into a new room.
Guys, obviously the ghost in the basement didn't want me to be on the early part of this show. I have no idea what happened there. There was some type of power surge in my basement office, so I had to move upstairs to the living room. So I have to be a little bit more quiet, but glad to be back.
I actually think you should be louder, so then everyone can see Naomi come and just hit you with a frying pan live on air. I think that would be very fitting, and something that I think the entire crowd would enjoy watching. Just Ezzy getting pummeled by a frying pan with a frying pan for waking up his children.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because Naomi literally right before I logged back in came out of the bedroom. She's like, "What are you doing?" Because I was fumbling around and plugging my computer in and everything like that. So yeah, I've already woken her up, so she's not happy, but I'm glad to be joining you boys and everybody watching the show live right now. And we have a victory to talk about. So sorry I missed how much time did I miss there? 5 minutes? It felt like it was like 20 minutes, but
closer to about 10 and a half.
7 minutes.
Well,
okay,
7 minutes in heaven.
Yeah, we'll have to have 7 minutes in heaven. That's different. Nobody ever wanted to play that with me. Only you guys want to play that with me. It's weird. Nobody in high school ever wanted to have anything to do with that. I don't know if that was me or them.
Nobody ever asked me to play spin the bottle either, Drew. So I think we're even there.
I got asked lots.
Oh, look at you there, Mr. Dave.
Hashtag Centennial. What's
Loose
up?
lips Manook.
Oh gosh, let's get into it. The Winnipeg
That's what happens
Jets.
when you go to public school, folks.
I was gonna say, as you went to public school, what are you
Kelvin High School right here, baby.
Yeah, but you started off in you were probably in some sort of private school early on.
Never. Nope, never. Robert H. Smith School, River Heights School. I'm a product of the public school system, boys.
And therein lies the rub, ladies and gentlemen. You should be looking for private school options immediately based on that last comment.
Both my kids are going to BH, including Ruben. And it's an all-girls school, so it kind of really doesn't make any sense.
Oh gosh, I missed you guys. That feeling will last maybe another 12, 13 minutes tops. But for the next 12, 13, it's going to be entertaining at the very least. As we were just touching on the game tonight, saying that the recipe for success for the Winnipeg Jets was a very familiar one. Connor Hellebuyck certainly heavily involved. Getting goals by getting to the dirty areas, tipping pucks, as we saw in the first and the third goal in tonight's game, and just sort of how the Jets are. This, and as Dave and I were talking about, this is sort of the last game before it seems like the influx of healthy bodies are coming along. So a lot of the guys who were in the AHL to begin, or maybe waiver guys who've been claimed and playing an elevated role, they know that their time in the top six or their time in an elevated role is probably coming to an end, with the Nikolai Ehlers set to return, with Nate Schmidt set to return, and other players like that near on the horizon to return to the lineup.
Yeah, you're not going to see Kevin Stenlund and Sam Gagne. Well, you might see Sam Gagne on the second power play unit, but you're definitely not going to be seeing Kevin Stenlund once guys like Nikolai Ehlers and Cole Perfetti return. And you're right, Drew. I mean, we don't know. I mean, it sounds like, Ehlers and Perfetti are really close. It sounds like Saku Manalainen is really close, right? We just don't know. I don't think we're really going to know probably until, Thursday at the earliest, right? But you definitely get the feeling.
Rick Bowness, Rick Bowness said today that, if it was a playoff game, Ehlers, Perfetti, Schmidt would have all been in the lineup today. So barring any setback in between now and Friday, it seems likely that means they'll be in the lineup on Friday, of course.
Yeah, or at the very least that, there's a strong chance that, a couple of those guys will be back. I thought those comments were funny, right? Because we're at game 38 of the season, and Rick Bowness is saying if this was a playoff game, as if we're in the last week of the season or something like that. I just thought that was funny. I was thinking Rick, this is nowhere near the playoffs, but I think his point was well made that, Ehlers, Perfetti, Schmidt, these guys want to come back. And the game on Saturday night, New Year's Eve, possibly the greatest show in Illegal Curve hockey show history, thanks to Spencer Sutton and the gang. If you were watching, hopefully Spencer is in the chat. I haven't seen him yet.
He's there.
Awesome.
Ezzy, when you froze, Spencer was like, I'm in.
He
Well,
was
that's the thing. We
he
should
was
just
trying to
send
access the
Spencer all the
link.
links, right? He has an open invitation. He can come on whenever. But yeah, there's no doubt that the last couple of games, guys, like the Jets have been badly outplayed at times. Like when the Jets went up 2-1 there, I think the shots were something like 31-19. But like, you know, the second period was not very good. And for the most part, I mean, the Jets weren't generating a ton of offense. Sure, they had their chances. Like, don't get me wrong, but the Calgary Flames, like, you go back to the Mackenzie Weegar, right? The Huberdeau, Kadri, tic-tac-toe to Weegar, where Hellebuck makes the incredible save. Nazem Kadri hit the post. I mean, in the first period, you remember that save that Hellebuck made look really easy, the glove save on Andrew Mangiapane right after the power play had ended, right? So you could go back in this game and point to 4 or 5 saves minimum that were of the grade A variety, right? So yeah, I mean the Jets get the 3-2 win, but there's no doubt that, you know, the Flames, I thought, were the much better team in this game.
Well, the Jets will take the victory no matter what. To your point, there were times certainly where the Jets were on their heels, and then the Jets were opportunistic and took advantage, and then they got the goaltending that they needed to get late in the game. Certainly helped Tyler Toffoli taking that penalty, which kills off a couple minutes of a potential
That's a
comeback
stupid penalty.
opportunity.
And that was a penalty. I can't, you know, Kevin Sawyer on the broadcast was saying if it was a little bit lower, but you know, it was right near it was a slash. It was a dumb penalty. And I agree with you, Drew. Around that time of the game, that's when you're pulling the goalie, right? And the Flames did kill the penalty off, but just a stupid penalty to take. I really like Toffoli. You guys know I've always been a Toffoli fan going back to the LA Kings days. But you're right, that was a very the timing of that penalty could not have been worse.
That's right. It was a pretty lousy time for him to take a penalty. Let's get into the Betway game recap tonight, boys. Winnipeg Jets 3-2 victors over the Calgary Flames. To talk about all the goals on the Betway game recap, brought to you, of course, by Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront with a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. No scoring in the first period, so those first 20 minutes won't take long. Connor Hellebuck had to stand on his head a number of times. Jets had a power play, of course, with Nazem Kadri taking that early boarding penalty, as he is so wont to do. Pierre-Luc Dubois took a cross-checking penalty late in the first period. Dubois was, he's on the score sheet, getting that secondary assist, but he was so involved in this game, and his wars with Mackenzie Weegar were really, you don't often see one-on-one battles for an entire 60 minutes. Not an entire 60 minutes because they weren't on the ice for the entire 60 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But that one-on-one battle between Weegar and Dubois tonight, as it was really entertaining to watch. Two big guys, neither of them backing down. Just an old-fashioned, hard-nosed battle between a top-notch defenseman in Mackenzie Weegar and a top-notch forward in Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah, Weegar's a really good player. And I don't know if you guys or anybody else, watching the post-game show right now was thinking of this, but kind of reminded you of Matthew Tkachuk and Drew Doughty, right? Which is kind of funny, right? Considering that Tkachuk and Weegar were part of the same trade, right? But you're absolutely right. And Weegar cross-checked Dubois. You mentioned the Dubois cross-checking penalty. Weegar could have easily got one right before that, right, Drew? So no, I'm with you. I love those one-on-one battles. I mean, that's what hockey's all about, right? And at one point in the broadcast, Dan and Kevin were talking about this having a playoff feel. I don't know if I would go that far because I don't know if it was that good of a game. It was a good game, pretty solid game, even though it was pretty low scoring for the majority. It wasn't until the third, right? But I mean, Pierre-Luc Dubois was doing exactly what you expect him to be doing, right? With his physicality, his vision, his playmaking ability, everything like that, right? So, again, I mean, similar to the game on Saturday night, right? Like the Jets, that game could have gone either way. And the same thing with tonight's game, it could have gone either way. And that's no surprise because that's the type of hockey that the Flames play, right? I think the last 5 or 6 games have been 1-goal games, and they're at the top of the league or near the top of the league in 1-goal games, right? It was mentioned on the broadcast. So, I love to see those battles. Weegar's a great defenseman. And this Flames team, like, we talked about it on the Saturday night New Year's Eve post-game show. Like,
you guys have no idea what you talked about on that show. You have no recollection of that show. You both.
Well, I have a recollection through the first 15 or 20 minutes. The first 15 or 20 minutes were actually like dedicated to hockey. After that, the next hour and a half was, I mean, it was basically just us. I was drinking and, we were having a good time. Dave was the glue guy that really kept that one together, but we had a good time. But you're right. I don't really remember much of the last 3 quarters of that show, but this Flames team is still really solid. And guys, we got to talk about, Jacob Markstrom. He has not had the best season. He's been playing better as of late, but that was the old Jacob Markstrom. He robbed Scheifele, right? Forget if that was the first period or the second period. And it was the last time these two teams played that Markstrom made that really good save on Scheifele. So Markstrom's starting to play a lot better. Like, I still think the Golden Knights are by far the best team in that division, but I think that at the end of the day, the Flames are going to end up being one of those 3 playoff teams. I think there's a good chance there's going to be 5 from the Central, but we'll have to wait and see. But this Flames team was very impressive tonight, I thought.
Yeah, look, it was a good hockey game between 2 teams that are pretty evenly matched, and this is the Winnipeg Jets, of course, who are without a lot of the guys that we've touched on that are going to be back in the lineup likely for Friday, which means that there's going to be a lot of lineup decisions that Rick Bowness is going to have to make. These are good decisions when you look at like, for example, the Jets' second power play unit, which at times set itself up, but that's not a threatening second power play unit.
It's a good one. It's a good power play unit in the AHL.
In the AHL, yeah, it's a fine power play unit in the AHL, but it's not really a significantly threatening one. It's one that's more out there to hold the fort and keep a good structure than it is that you're going to expect a lot of playmaking from. And they did their job in that case late in the third period when, with the Toffoli penalty, the second power play unit I thought set up better than the first unit, and they were able to move the puck around and everything else. But the guys who are on that unit are not guys who ever expected to get any power play time this year. I mean, we were talking about it before the show started, Kyle Capobianco, as the Jets went with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen.
I barely noticed Capobianco was out there, Drew.
Well, Capobianco played 4 minutes in tonight's game, exactly. 2 of which were on the power play. So, I mean, this is not a guy that got any 5-on-5 time to speak of, any even strength time. And I haven't looked yet. I'm not sure if intern Bailey is updating us to what Rick Bowness is saying in the post-game chat, but we'll look at the break and being.
Sorry, Drew, I'm reading the $1 Million Man's comments right now.
Yes, well, I mean, you get, when you see wrestling, I know that you get distracted, but the Jets.
I put it up there. I want to get it. I want to get in here already, for God's sakes.
But again, my question remains from the last time $1 Million Man was here. Where's Virgil?
Well, I'm sure that somebody will soon change their name to Virgil in the chat and be able to.
I'm still shocked there isn't a Drew's clock, for the record.
That is surprising because that clock was very popular. So I am a little bit surprised about that.
I thought that there's Manuke's antlers are there. We got Kenny's water bottle. I thought maybe Mindell's clock might have gotten a little love, a little YouTube love. I was a little surprised. Just saying.
That would be fair. Anyways, the Jets open the scoring. It comes in the second period at the 14:50 mark. So late in the second period, this game goes more than 30 minutes without getting a goal. And it's not the combination that you would have expected. Brendan Dillon getting his first of the year from Dylan DeMello and Mark Scheifele. Mark Scheifele, yeah, okay. But to get for the Jets to open the scoring on a tip shot by Brendan Dillon off a shot from Dylan DeMello is not what anyone had on their bingo cards. But nonetheless, Dave, it gives the Jets the 1-0 lead late in the second period, rather.
Yeah, and when as wasn't here yet or left and come back was that idea of as was all the power, all the opportunities the defensemen are getting, and all the production that they're contributing right now. And if you notice that throughout the course of the game, the Jets D-men are low. Like there have been a number of instances where Neil Pionk is low, Brendan Dillon is low, and they're like right beside the goal. And you're like, well, wait a second, that's the defenseman. And yet there they are right in front. And it led to, I mean, Brendan Dillon's a big boy, and he's a whole lot of man, and he takes a lot to try and get out of the way. And so, Dylan DeMello with, it was funny because I actually thought he originally got the goal. I didn't see the puck go, just on first blush, you kind of thought Dylan DeMello went in. I thought, is Dylan DeMello on pace for a career year? Is anybody going to stop Dylan DeMello from getting all of the goals? But of course it went in off of Brendan Dillon. But you like that. You like the fact that Brendan Dillon is causing a little bit of havoc, a little bit of chaos, and using that big body. And you can see, I mean, it's funny because they showed it on the broadcast. Dylan DeMello was more excited than Brendan Dillon was that Brendan Dillon got that goal. And it just goes to show you kind of the selfless nature, I think, of most of the guys on this team, that they're just happy to see, anybody scored, anybody put the puck in the net, and to give the building some life, because there's a bit of nervous energy, right? Jets fans are feeling good, but it does feel like a lifetime already since that Oilers game. And, as Drew touched on when we opened the show, it's unusual because we're so conditioned to game. And now all of a sudden you're going game tonight, and now you don't play again. The Jets don't play again.
Don't worry, Dave. That's going to pick up real soon. There's going to be some back-to-backs coming up real soon.
I'm aware. But I'm just saying it is an interesting sort of change. And so you've got these guys, like I said, that you need the defense to really step up, and they continue to. And having 20 goals already from your defensemen. And it's one of the interesting comments from Rick Bowness today wasn't just talking about getting the goals. And it wasn't even secondary or primary assists. He was talking about that idea. And as we talk about it because Craig Button mentioned it, it's the third assist. It's the fourth assist. It's the plays that lead to these goals that don't necessarily get credited on the score sheet that the defensemen are contributing. So the defense is contributing.
Well, that would have actually been Brendan Dillon then from DeMello and Brendan Dillon because Brendan Dillon went in. That's why he was in front, right? Like, when that goal was scored originally, I thought it was Adam Lowry because he was in a tipping position as well, right? In front of Markstrom, but it was Dillon that dug the puck out of the corner. I forget which defenseman he went up against. And then he got the puck back to Scheifele at the point. And then you could see that Dillon, like, he wasn't used to being in that position, right? As you mentioned, Dave, but because he's 6'4" or whatever he is, and, well over 200 pounds, like, he's a guy that can cause some chaos in front of the net. And you're right. DeMello seemed much happier than Dillon was, but I mean, going back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, and I realized I missed 10 minutes or something like that, but I mean, the Jets are really just finding ways to win, and it's a cliche, but sometimes, like, this was what Paul Maurice used to call a grinder, and this game was a grinder. Like, yeah, there were some nice, Milan Lucic had a beautiful breakaway. Obviously, I'm joking about that. That was a weird play because obviously there was some backspin, and Ville Heinola just seemed a little bit unsure there, right, Dave? But yeah, I mean, this game was as tight checking as they come. It was back and forth. I mean, even though I think the Flames were probably the better team in this game, it's not like they were head and shoulders better. So I agree with you. It was, just good work by Brendan Dillon. But you're right. I mean, there were some things that happened leading up to that goal. But I think it's not a coincidence, guys, that you're getting more offense from the defense this year. It was literally something that Rick Bowness said at the beginning of the season. Like, we want our defensemen to be more active, and we've seen it since game one, and it continued again tonight.
I think it's probably fun for the defense to be able to play, to have that green light for a guy like Brendan Dillon to know that, he can sort of chip and chase, because that's never a role that he's going to play. He's going in there and he's grinding, and he's, rather than being told to, get back out because you don't expect that your teammate is necessarily going to be able to cover for you or going to cover for you. They have the confidence in knowing that, yeah, somebody's going to be back at the point. Somebody's going to pick up for me, and I can go in front of the net and muck around there for a couple minutes, and the work paid off for the Winnipeg Jets. And that's certainly, that good feeling reverberates up and down the bench, and it reverberates in the dressing room. You don't think that he's going to get one of the fighter pilot jackets tonight? And apparently they give about, I think they give out about 8 or 10 of them a game. It's unclear to me exactly how many they give out, but it's somewhere in there. But there's no doubt in my mind that Brendan Dillon is going to get one of those fighter pilot jackets,
along with Kyle Capobianco, obviously, for a solid.
Well, Capobianco, no questions.
2 minutes of power play time, that gets you a jacket.
The Jets lead doesn't last that long. That was the story of the game for a lot of this game. It lasted for 4 minutes and 10 seconds. And at the 19-minute mark of the second period, after Connor Hellebuyck looked like he was going to be impenetrable, he does actually, maybe I was going to say he does get penetrated, but that would not be correct. Nikita Zadorov does beat him. His 5th of the season, assist to Tyler Toffoli and Elias Lindholm. Zadorov comes in after taking sort of the drop pass, and he's got some time and space, and it almost looked like he didn't get all of the shot, and maybe by not getting all of the shot, it sort of fooled Connor Hellebuyck, because it was
exactly what I was thinking, Drew.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I think, sorry to cut you off short there, but like that's what it seemed like to me. Like, Zadorov had obviously tons of room there, as you mentioned, but it was kind of like a change up, right? If you want to use a baseball term, right? So you're right. I think that's one that, I think Hellebuyck, it drives him crazy, but, there was some good speed by that, but good speed on that goal. But to me, like,
has he go muted?
Sorry about that, guys.
Has he self-muted there?
No, I don't know what happened there. I guess I did. I was just so excited. I was touching things that I shouldn't have been touching. But, to me, they're also on that goal. You had Lowry taking the faceoff, right? You got Scheifele on the wing, which we've seen, as of late. That's not something you're really used to seeing when the Jets are fully healthy, right? Because Scheifele and Lowry are natural centers. I just thought Scheifele was a little bit slow on the back check there. Like, I just thought he was slow to react because it wasn't like it was an odd man situation coming out of the Jet zone, right? So, give Zadorov credit there. He picks his spot, and even though he doesn't get all of it, but I just thought that, Scheifele was a little bit slow getting back there.
Yeah, and tied the game up at 1 after 40 minutes. And the Jets lead there doesn't last a ton of time, and the Flames are feeling good about themselves. Always difficult to give up a goal late in the period, and that's what happened here, tying the game at 1. Third period, I thought, started sort of with a bit of a chess match, a feeling. Both teams sort of feeling each other out, nobody wanting to make that first mistake. And you saw that for the first sort of 10 minutes of that period as both teams sort of went back and forth. Nothing that I recall as being an overwhelmingly great opportunity for either team. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course, gentlemen, if I'm missing anything. But it's Josh Morrissey. And, I mean, we're running out of words to use for how good he's been this year. But this play, and you talked about it earlier, Dave, it's a fantastic pass to Kyle Connor, and it's an equally fantastic give and go from Connor back to Morrissey. And I saw your tweet, and not to throw you under the bus or anything, but you thought it was sort of a fluky bounce.
Morrissey, I totally did.
Connor. Yeah, because it looks, the way it looked at first glance, it looked like it should have been like almost a fluky ricochet, ends up back on his stick. But then you watch the replay and you see the skill that's involved here from both Morrissey and Connor, and there's nothing fluky about it. He walks the line, he feeds Connor, and Connor somehow feeds it right back to him and tees him up, and Morrissey just, everything he touches so far this year has turned to gold, and he gives the Jets, his adopted hometown, a 2-1 lead over his birth hometown in Calgary, Dave, at the 10:22 mark of the third period.
Again, Drew, I'll gush a bit about Josh Morrissey. One, because he's a phenomenal human being, but he's a phenomenal hockey player, and we're seeing it on a night in and night out basis. I mean, there's no drop off in his game, and his skating was always good, but it seems like it's next level this year, more than I've ever seen before. In it's just the confidence he has, the way his edge work is again, I'm going to use this word, is simply phenomenal.
It's elite.
And elite is another word. Although, last time Drew used the word elite around the Jets, they went on a tailspin and lost 3 games. But the fact is that Josh Morrissey is elite. There's no doubt about it. His play has been fantastic. His confidence, and you can see it. It does wonders for a player to see what kind of, I don't want to say the shackles are off Josh Morrissey, but it seems like that's kind of the case because, again, the things we are seeing him do, like his walking of the line, I'm going to go back over it again. The fact that he walked the line the way he did, went through 2 guys, had the confidence to go, because again, if he does that and he loses the puck, I mean, they're going back the other way on a 2-on-0, but he knows that he has confidence. And again, when I watched it first blush, I was like, wow, what a lucky bounce. But sometimes you got to be lucky to be good. And again, Josh Morrissey gets that puck back and he fires it in. So that wasn't surprising. But to have the confidence again, that's completely, it's not like he did that by fluke. He didn't get it over to Kyle Connor by accident. That was an intentional pass. And Connor, again, presence of mind, as we're always talking about Kyle Connor's ability to see things. He knows he's got guys on him that he knows that Josh Morrissey has a lane. So if he can chip that back to Josh Morrissey, he's wide open. He's going right down Main Street. And what did he do? He went right down Main Street. He fired the puck home, and the Jets have a lead. So it was an elite goal. It was elite by Josh Morrissey at the line, and it was elite by Kyle Connor to get the puck back to Josh Morrissey. So all around play, probably one of the nicest, maybe a little recency bias, but like that was one of the nicest goals the Jets have scored in my mind this season.
And just a few things to add to that. Morrissey's obviously not 100%, Dave. And we talked about that on New Year's Eve, right? Like, and Morrissey wasn't 100% against Edmonton. So he's doing that at whatever percentage he's at, which is not anywhere close to 100%, right? Because that's why Kyle Kappa, at least that's why we believe, Kyle Capobianco was in the lineup, just to basically be insurance, to take a few minutes away, literally a few minutes, 4 minutes to be exact, as we kind of joked about earlier, right? But I mean, you're right. There, two guys are on Josh Morrissey there, and he backhands the puck to Kyle Connor, and then he has the presence of mind to go to net, knowing that, you know, this isn't Morrissey and Connor's first rodeo. These guys have been playing together a long time here, and they're on the same page, kind of the same way like Scheifele and Wheeler and Scheifele and Connor have been for so many, Dubois and Connor for that matter. And, you know, we talked about, I thought Dubois did a really nice job there, you know, maintaining possession of the puck, getting it back to Morrissey there. So it was, it was just, as you mentioned, Dave, all around. And, you know, when you consider that he's not 100% and you consider that, you know, he hasn't really had, like, it was weird that he didn't have a point against Edmonton. Like, that is absurd in the sense, because Morrissey's a solid, for most of Morrissey's career, he's been a solid 40 to 45 point defenseman. This year, we're talking about an 85 to 90 point defenseman. We're talking Roman Josi type of numbers, right? So, yeah,
I mean, he looks, you know, he looks like, you know, I'm not saying, you know, he looks like Cale Makar did at times last year, you know, and that's heady praise. And I know that people are going to say, you know, Homer, whatever, all that nonsense. But you watch how he's playing, and you watch how he's dangling, and how his edge work and his skating is leaving opponents, and not scrubs, but good quality opponents. It's leaving them befuddled. And it takes, you know, and as Dave just said, it takes elite players to leave other players befuddled in this league. And right now, you know, so far this year, Josh Morrissey is playing as an elite defenseman, and not and I know it's Norrissey and everything else, but it's fact of the matter that I think if the voting was to happen right now, if it was happened at this point, well, there's no question in my mind he's a finalist. I mean, there's, you know, what he's done for the Jets, he might even win. I mean, you know, he might even win right now. I know what Erik Karlsson's doing, but Erik Karlsson's doing that on a shitty team. What Josh Morrissey is doing, on a winning team is something that the other 30 teams, the other 30 fan bases or 31 fan bases will eventually realize it. But I can promise you, each and every head coach that plays against the Jets is trying to game plan against Josh Morrissey right now and try to figure out a way to how to neutralize him, because he's so key to what the Jets have been doing this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, you look at 3-on-3 overtime, right? Like, we've seen him, you know, score the big overtime winners. Like, and, you know, when you mentioned guys like Cale Makar, I mean, you never want to compare, you know, directly, and that's not what you were doing, but you were saying that his impact on the game and the type of stuff he's doing, the spinoramas and the beautiful tic-tac-toe passes and the beautiful shots, or just getting shots through to be tipped. You're absolutely right. Like, you don't have to be a Jets fan. You don't have to be, you know, a fan of a team in the Central Division or the Western Conference. I mean, there's some really good defensemen in the Eastern Conference as well, but I think, you know, you've started to see over the last, you know, month or so, I mean, people are starting to take notice and realize that, you know, he's not just having a good season, he's having a Norris caliber season. And on that play, I mean, as Dave mentioned, I mean, that was just, you know, beauty vision and beauty passing from Morrissey and Connor.
And it doesn't end up being the game-winning goal or anything, because a minute and 36 seconds later, Michael Backlund gets his 8th of the year, pardon me, assist to Andrew Mangiapane. And this one's sort of a bit of a Keystone Cops, bit of an ugly play with Dylan DeMello falling and or getting tripped by Mangiapane, depending on your opinion, Dave. And it leads Backlund to come in all alone on a breakaway. And he makes no mistake. He gets Hellbuck to open up the pads as he goes. I guess he went from his left to his right to get the pads to open up. And he slides it between there to tie the game at 2 in the latter half of the third period, Dave.
Yeah, and, you know, that was one of those situations where you didn't know. How many times have we said this? How would the Jets react to giving up something like that? And I thought they reacted well. I thought that they didn't look. I mean, it's always deflating. You never want to give up a goal quickly. You want to be able to build. Oh, wow, that's rocket science. You want to be able to build upon the success you've just created. And the building, of course, taking a 2-1 lead in the third period, the building's excited. Folks are excited. Folks are animated. And yet now you've given up a goal. So how you react, I mean, giving up the goal, you're right. It wasn't ideal. I mean, Josh Morrissey gets that shot blocked along the wall, and then Dylan DeMello trips, and it's just, you can see DeMello's like watching and just like completely
Yeah.
helpless on the ice. Yeah, exactly. It was like one of those slow-mo plays. So you're thinking to yourself, what exactly is going to happen here? But sure enough, the Jets get scored on. But again, to me, the key is not the giving up the goal, which obviously is significant, and you want to analyze it and see where the mistakes were made. But you also want to see how that team reacts as a result. And I thought that they reacted, in an appropriate fashion that allowed them to obviously do what they were able to do.
There's no doubt that was tripping. I mean, you guys know I've liked Andrew Mangiapane for years. He had his career year last year with 35 goals. I think it was 35 or 36 goals.
Yeah.
But it's a turnover caused by Mangiapane, right?
Yep.
At Morrissey at the point. But then he trips DeMello. Like that to me was not a gray area trip, Dave. Like that was a trip, so they got away with one. We talked about it on Saturday show, right? Cody Ceci got the delay of game that shouldn't have been called. So sometimes it goes, your way. Sometimes it goes the other way, right? In this case, it didn't go the Jets' way. It was a beautiful move by Michael Backlund, who had another scoring chance earlier in the game that Hellebuck made the save on. But that they got away with one there. But the Jets ended up winning the game, so it's a moot point, I guess.
It's interesting. So after the Backlund goal ties it up, Kevin Sawyer on the broadcast, and Kevin Sawyer often says some interesting things, not necessarily because he means for them to be interesting, but in this case, it was an interesting comment where he said that, he said the Flames were excited on their bench, of course, and he's between the glass, so he knows, he's right between the two benches. And he said there was just a feeling of calmness over the Jets bench. There was no panic. There was no desperation. There was no sort of hanging their heads, giving up the goal at this point in time. And I thought that was reflective in sort of how the Jets came back after giving up this goal. They've given up the 1-goal lead for a second time in tonight's game, but it only takes them less than 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes and 22 seconds to be exact, to get what ends up being the game-winning goal. And it's Sam Gagner, his 7th of the season, assist to Ville Heinola, his first assist of the year, and Dylan Samberg gets the secondary assist. So again, Samberg, Heinola, and Gagner, I don't think anyone had that as a scoring trio in tonight's game. But what I want to focus on this goal is the play that precedes the goal. And it's Ville Heinola, who is not known as being a physical defenseman, that's probably the part of his game that's most maligned or has the most work. He needed to bulk up a little bit or muscle up a little bit.
I just want to quickly interject, Drew. It's funny. It's a bit of a myth that Ville Heinola is not physical. Ville Heinola is not physical when I should just want to clarify. Ville Heinola is not physical when stationary. He actually plays a fairly physical game when moving. But
he's also small, right? So it's like
right. But what I'm saying is he's
small, relatively.
But he
speaking,
does actually.
right, Dave?
He plays a little bit more of an aggressive style that people like. I agree. You watch him and you're like, he's not he's not Brendan Dillon. He's not murdering someone in front of the net. So when he's stationary, when he's not moving around, 100% I agree. He's not a physical player. But when Ville Heinola is actually moving, he can actually be physical. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in and say that because it's a bit of a myth, I think, with him. You say
there's different ways to be physical,
right? And I'm just saying, but
Pierre-Luc Dubois is also physical, but he's not Eric Lindros physical, where he's crushing guys.
Right.
Like he's physical in the sense that he uses his body positioning to out-muscle guys. Like he can throw body checks. Don't get me wrong. And if he needs to, I guess he would drop the gloves. But he's not Rick Tocchet. He's, you know what I mean? Like he's not Brad Marchand in that sense, but he can agitate guys. And you're right. Ville Heinola is a guy that more so uses his body positioning and his body checking is more so closer to the boards, Dave, as opposed to the open ice hits is what I think you're trying to say. So you're right. I think sometimes he gets a bad rap in that sense.
But to your point here, Dave, where you say that he's physical when he's moving his skates, when he's moving his feet, he's moving his feet on this play, and he bodies checks Nazem Kadri. And that's what forces the turnover. This is in the Jet zone. He takes Kadri into the sideboards, and it jars the puck loose, and it ends up on the stick of Dylan Samberg, and it's Samberg who now has the opportunity, thanks to Heinola's play. Samberg has the opportunity to transition up the ice and get a clean zone entry into the Flames zone Heinola is busting his bum up the play as well, and he takes the pass from Sandberg, and then he lets go of the shot, which is what Gagne tips past Markstrom to give the Jets the game-winning goal. But it all starts with a solid physical play in their own zone by a guy in Ville Heinola. That solid physical playing hasn't necessarily been what you've expected from him, but it's definitely what you want to see as he tries and continues to try to establish himself as an NHL regular.
Yeah, and like I said, I just, it's one of those things I've seen when he plays with the Moose in the AHL. You see that physicality. You just, again, like I said, when he's stationary, if he's killing a penalty, it's not a great look for Ville Heinola. Then he, again, I saw it in the chat and I agree, then he becomes more Enstrom. Then he becomes like Tobias Enstrom, who was very good using his stick, using his intelligence to try and do something in terms of...
Hold on, Dave. You said stick. It was a pool cue. Remember how long that stick was that Toby used to use?
It was. I believe we had a post on illegalcurve.com talking about Tobias Enstrom's very long stick, which could be taken another way if we were going to go that way, but we're not. We're keeping this clean. But anywho, so again, it's to me like it's one of those things that, like I said, I've seen a lot of, and I've shared a lot of video from Ville Heinola's games with the Moose, where I'm showing him lay the body with, in the corners along the wall, as he says, it's where it's more likely to see Ville Heinola use that physicality. And look, he's young, he's 21, he's gonna get bigger, he'll get stronger. We saw it with Josh Morrissey. What you don't want to do is lose. Josh Morrissey, if you remember, was smaller, but got too big, got too strong, slowed him down. Eventually figured it out, got that right balance, and then he, so that's what you expect from these guys. It eventually comes. It's not a quick process. It's not going to happen overnight. But Ville Heinola, it seems to be, again, getting that confidence and doesn't look like he's going anywhere right now, right? Now, it'll be interesting to see what the Jets choose to do with Nate Schmidt, given the fact that he's ready to, we expect him to be ready to return on Friday. But we're still talking about the game right now. We won't start talking about that sort of thing, Ezzy, because that talk. Well, we can do that after the break, but not after necessarily during the game. And Drew, the other thing you should highlight, and this is more your area than mine. I put the comment up there, but you should read the Rick Bowness comment since we're talking about Ville Heinola.
I was going to do that after the break as well. I was going to do a recap of the coach's comments.
We're talking about Heinola right now. So, I mean, yeah, but Drew, hey, I'm sorry. I was just in the host chair. So I'm still feeling kind of feeling.
Hey, Dave, maybe Bones rolled 7 defensemen again. Maybe you take Capobianco out and Schmidt. No, I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, there's going to be a tough decision that has to be made with Heinola arguably playing his best hockey of his young career, right? And you're not going to be taking Sandberg out, I don't think so. I mean, there's only a few guys. Yeah.
Well, and we'll talk about it after the break, but that goal. So the goal ends up being from Sam Gagne. It ends up as the game.
Beautiful tip. I know we didn't focus a lot on that tip, Drew, but like that was a guy who's played 1,000+ games in the league, right? Like that was a pro tip.
That's right. That's exactly what it was. It was a pro tip by a guy who knows how to do that, and the shot is in a spot where he's able to do it. And, it's not always about the hardest shot. It's not about the highest shot. It's about a shot where you want to be able to get your stick on the puck, and that's what Sam Gagne does. That's what Ville Heinola does, and that's what Dylan Sandberg, of course, starts to play off, and that gives the Jets the 3-2 lead with just over 5 minutes to go, and they do a real good job in the last 5 minutes, keeping things to the outside, shutting things down. The one sort of scoring chance, and which I would probably call a high danger scoring chance, was Jonathan Huberdeau, who somehow is sort of left to walk right in on his own, and he just sort of fires it at Connor Hellebuyck. Huberdeau, a guy who's sort of struggling, not fully, you can tell he's a guy who's fighting the puck a little bit in his first season in Calgary, and isn't where he wants to be with his offensive game. And this is just an example, because usually you put Huberdeau in that situation and you're asking for a lot of trouble. And this one, Connor Hellebuyck, has to do, make what for Connor Hellebuyck is a relatively routine save.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. That was the definition of a point blank save, with Huberdeau having a lot of space there. But Hellebuyck comes out and, he basically doesn't have anywhere to go, right? Like he ends up shooting it right into his chest. Hellebuyck was incredible again tonight. Like these are 2 games in a row where you could say that Hellebuyck was the best goaltender, and tonight wasn't by far. On Saturday night, it definitely was. Campbell didn't have a great game, but tonight Markstrom was equally, as good. Just Hellebuyck was just a little bit better. And we talked about it, the save that he makes on Mackenzie Weegar. And again, hockey is one of those games where sometimes you do get lucky. Nazem Kadri thought he had a goal there, but it hit the post. But again, a post is a goalie's best friend, right?
That it is. A post is a goalie's best friend. The Winnipeg
You're my
Jets.
best friend, Drew.
Thank you, Ezzy. That's very kind of you to say. I think of you very fondly as well. The Winnipeg Jets 3-2 victors over the Calgary Flames. They improved to 24-13-1 on the season. That puts them firmly in second spot in the Central Division. Minnesota 5 points behind them, 2 games in hand. But the Wild were right up on the Jets' keister not that long ago, and the Jets have managed to expand that lead a little bit more, and more importantly, expand it over some of the other teams who are fighting for the wild card spot right now. And of course, way too early to look at the scoreboard and look at the standings, but a win is a win is a win, and the Winnipeg Jets will gladly take it by tonight's 3-2 margin. That's been the Betway game recap here on the Illegal Curve post show. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. When we come back, much more to discuss about tonight's Jets-Flames game. We'll read some of the comments from the post game from the players and from head coach Rick Bowness. We'll talk about potential lineup changes ahead of Friday's tilt against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Always exciting when the Lightning come to town. And of course, we got giveaways galore. We got a Tough Duck hardest hitting comment, and we have the grand prize for December, tickets to an NHL game of your choosing. Don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss this. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. We're live on YouTube. We're live on all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
There's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time. Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. What are you wearing? You're muted.
It's costume time.
Are you wearing a
My
onesie?
It's my Fireball onesie.
Oh, okay.
It looks very comfy.
It does look comfy. It's a nice onesie. I just didn't
courtesy
realize
courtesy of our friends at Seagram's.
I didn't realize there was a wardrobe change that I needed to execute in between commercials.
Drew, put your Indiana Jones hat back on.
You have to understand, Drew.
First of all, that hat belongs to my father-in-law. I wasn't about to be taking it home. Although I'm sure if I actually had asked for it, he would have gladly given it to me. But I don't know that I can wear it on the short term, but like he can pull off that hat. Like he leaves the house like wearing that hat all the time, and
he takes that to the grocery store.
Oh yeah, that's like an everyday going out routine hat. I can't pull that off. I mean, I got swag, but I don't have that much swag.
Anyways, I'm wearing this because, of course, it's an exciting announcement. Our friends at Seagram's are joining the post-game show. So
love it.
They've been sponsoring the website, and now they're joining us here on the post-game show. So as a welcome to our friends at Seagram's, I've donned the Illegal Curve Fireball. It's not an Illegal Curve. It's a Fireball, Seagram's Fireball whiskey onesie. So I've worn this once before. Now I'm wearing it to welcome Seagram's aboard the post-game show. So welcome aboard Seagram's, our friends, and have been great supporters of us. Of course, I got the Fireball lights behind me, and we'll have to get those things going as well.
Yeah, we're really excited. Sorry, I was just going to say I'm really excited to get the Fireball fountain in my house so I can drink Fireball 24 hours a day.
I thought you were going to shave the word Fireball into your chest hair for Friday's post-game show. That's what I was hoping for. But yes, a big welcome aboard to Seagram's. We've talked about it. You've seen their ads on the website, illegalcurve.com. And they said, we've seen the shenanigans that Manuk, Ginsburg, and Mindell are up to. As a reputable brand, we need to be associated with those guys even more. And I don't see any downside to their decision-making in this case. Yeah, so welcome aboard to our friends at Seagram's, who are now one of the sponsors here of the post-game show in addition to their sponsorship of the website.
And part of the reason why I wanted to get that in there is because I want to make sure Frosty Winnipeg's got even though we always include Seagram's in there.
Yes.
Now, it's really official. So
that's right. So Frosty, you can get to work on making sure that happens.
And more importantly, we're still talking to the folks at Seagram, so we'll find out exactly if they're going to be providing us a commercial. But if they give us the opportunity to create an IC Seagram's commercial, I mean, I'm thinking like Hangover style. We've lost Ginsburg. Well, maybe actually would Ginsburg be the guy we lost? Probably actually me who would be the guy who gets lost.
We'd lose you. Ginsburg would be Zach Galifianakis, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. So it would be as he would be wearing the outrageous outfits while carrying a Merce. Because as he has a Merce, he's actually got quite a collection of Merces.
I do.
Are they Merces or are they Merci? I'm not even sure, but let's go with Merces.
Yeah, plural. Mercine.
Yeah, and then we'll find you, Dave, somewhere buried in the desert. We'll go to the Carberry Desert because we know how you like to explore Manitoba, and that's where we'll find you buried. In keeping with.
Well, we should probably go to Gimli. We should probably go to Gimli where there's a Seagram's plant.
There you go. We can find you. Yes, we can find you unconscious in the Seagram's in the Seagram's plant there. That makes in the Crown Royal plant. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Look, the brains. This is like us storyboarding an idea, folks. This is the behind the scenes stuff.
Don't worry. And I know. Hey, look, I know people are asking, are we going to talk hockey? Of course, we first of all we spent the first 45 minutes of the show talking about hockey, if not more. But this is exciting stuff. And I promise you, the Grid Park uncut. It's not gonna be the whole
Outtakes,
thing because,
yeah.
as Drew said, it is 6 minutes, so it's a little bit long. But I'm gonna try and consolidate it and then just show you some of the funny bits of it. The funny bits.
None of you guys want to see Dave and I screaming at each other for 6 minutes, as neither of us can manage to get through a commercial with a straight face. Nobody
There is
wants
an
to see
audience
that.
for that. I mean, if there's an audience for furries, there's an audience for this, guys.
That's fair enough.
roll.
I guess in that sense, you're right. Brendan Dillon was asked what part of him the puck hit when he scored the opening goal in tonight's game. He said that it hit his pants. He followed that up by saying, "I have a big butt, so it hit my big butt."
And you will not lie.
Thank you, Ezzy. But there
Your
you
other
go.
brothers
That's
can't deny.
that's some of the post-game analysis coming out of the Jets dressing room. Here's Rick Bonus about Ville Heinola, and I think that it was up on the screen earlier, courtesy of Bailey. So in case you missed it, Rick Bonus, or in case you're listening to the podcast, Rick Bonus said that this is how they want to see Ville Heinola playing tonight, was how we want Heinola to play. He was reliable defensively, but he was skating the puck and he was using his mobility on the offensive blue line, and he was looking to shoot more tonight. So that's Rick Bonus. And I thought an interesting one in response to a question from Murat Atesh of The Athletic. Murat asked Rick Bonus about the old school idea that the NHL isn't a developmental league. Here's Rick Bonus's answer. Quote, "It's still a developmental league because of the salary cap and the young players coming into the league, and you've got to help them learn how to play at this level. I know that the NHL not being a developmental league is a cliche of the years that have gone past, but not anymore. To me, there's a lot of young players in the league that need a lot of coaching." So a real interesting quote there, and I think a real interesting approach from Rick Bonus, talking about young players and how you integrate young players, and that it's no longer a fair expectation to expect young players to be fully cooked when they come to the NHL, that they still need a little bit of time in the frying pan before they're fully ready at the NHL level, Ezzy.
Yeah, they need a little salt and pepper. But look, it's a contrast to Paul Maurice, right? Like we said that the biggest downfall, I think, especially the last couple of years of Paul Maurice, was, he didn't trust young players. It's not that he wouldn't play young players, but I mean, anybody who watched, Heinola in his brief NHL action last year, it seemed like if he made a mistake, okay, send him back to the AHL, right? Like, and the thing is, like, as Dave mentioned, he's 21 years old now. He's a 2019 draft pick. And there was a bad giveaway in the Oilers game that led to a goal. So it's not like Heinola is all of a sudden, a perfect defenseman, but he's clearly playing with more confidence. And Drew touched on it. Like, he's playing better in his own zone. And it's a cliche, but usually if you're taking care of business in your own zone, it's translating to, confidence in the offensive zone. And you saw that on the game-winning goal, right? So it's going to be a tough decision. And it's really anybody's guess as to who's going to come out.
Well, let's talk about that decision.
But the money would, you have to think, Drew, it's going to be one of Sandberg and Heinola, for the simple fact that those are your two younger defensemen, right?
If a guy like Neil Pionk is banged up, because Neil Pionk hasn't been great this year, if he's banged up, and I don't know that he for sure is, but my spidey sense would tell me that he's dealing with something.
You're saying it's tingling, Drew.
It's tingling, and it's not just because my leg is asleep. My spidey sense is tingling. And would you be shocked if it was a guy like Neil Pionk who maybe gets an opportunity, gets a couple days off to maybe heal up if something's been ailing him, if he's been the loyal soldier?
Well, if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised, but I just don't know, right? Like, it's possible that he's dealing with something, Drew, but if I would be surprised, let's put it this way, if it was more than, a game or two, if it was something that was just lingering. But I mean, I agree with you in the sense that, Pionk has struggled. He hasn't struggled offensively. He's struggled defensively. Right. And we have to mention that Pionk has had a variety of defensive partners, right? Like, Brendan Dillon, I think, is who he works best with, but he's played with Dylan Sandberg. He's played with Josh Morrissey, right, Dave? So I think, he can play with anybody. I mean, the veteran players are the ones that can play with anybody, right? Like, look at Mark Scheifele, you look at Pierre-Luc Dubois, Kyle Connor, Adam Lowry's playing on the wing, right? Like, you can move these guys around. But yeah, Drew, it's possible, I guess, if there is something that they feel he would be better off, sitting out a few games. But The other thing too, I wanted to mention, I agree with you. Friday night, you got, Tampa Bay, defending Stanley Cup finalists, 2-time Stanley Cup champions in the last 3 years. Like, I think, if you're Rick Bowness, you do have to be a little bit careful, considering the team you're playing and the fact that, you're still in win now mode in terms of like, you're still chasing Dallas. And you mentioned there's a little bit of separation between the Wild. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, if all three guys are ready to come back, being Perfetti, Ehlers, and Nate Schmidt. So we'll see what happens. But I think there's no doubt that Heinola has arrived. And, maybe he gets sent back down to the Moose, but, I think he's played well enough to stay with the Jets.
Well, and this is a good problem to have, Dave, but there really isn't one clear-cut player on the back end who's played his way out of the lineup. I mean, then injuries, look, if Neil Pionk is not going to be made a healthy scratch, even though his play has been lacking at times, he's not going to be made a healthy scratch. But if he's banged up and they can give him a few days off, and that gives him a little bit of an opportunity to kick the can down the road of a decision for a little while longer, then that wouldn't surprise me. But Samberg and Heinola have both, justified their inclusion in the lineup, Dave.
I think it's going to be very interesting. I think his waiver eligibility could work against him. Because he does have that. So, I mean, and not only does he have it for this year, he's got it for next year as well. So 2 more years of waiver eligibility for Ville Heinola definitely doesn't help him because, he makes a decision easier. If two guys are fairly on par and you're not, and remember, what did Rick Bowness say 10 games ago? I'm happy to have one of these guys step up and seize the role. It seemed like he was prepared to. We saw this years ago, and I don't want to make this a Moose Minute or anything like that, but we saw this years ago with the Moose, and it was Leon Gawanke, Johnny Kovacevic, and Luke Green. And it was the three, they were all rookies, and it was the three of them kind of rotating in out and out of either one or two spots with the Manitoba Moose until they kind of had one guy or two in this instance, because both Kovacevic and Gawanke both kind of stepped up and assumed roles, and Luke Green didn't. So he played a lot less frequently. And it seems like, again, Rick Bowness is prepared to allow that to happen in this instance and have Dylan Samberg or Ville Heinola, or again, Logan Stanley's not playing for a while, but I would put him in that category of one of those, quote, youngish players who's ready to step in. And obviously Samberg's older. He just played college longer. So he came in as an older player. But the reality is, I think he's prepared to allow these guys to step up and say, hey, if you're going to seize this role, I'm not taking you out of the lineup. If you're going to show me that you don't need to be out, even if it means we're going to have to expose someone to waiver and we're going to keep Ville Heinola in the lineup, Rick Bowness, I would be shocked if he wouldn't do that based on merit. So I would think that it's going to be giving these guys an opportunity, giving these guys a leash. And then you're right. Then they have to evaluate. And the truth is, look, at the end of the day, you want to have defensive depth, right? As like, you want to be able to keep your guys, when you're healthy, you need that. We're seeing that with this Jets team. We're seeing that.
Well, Logan Stanley is probably number 8 on the depth chart now.
Oh, easy.
Maybe number 9.
He might be 9, actually. Yeah. In fact, I think
I'd put Capobianco ahead of him.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, he gets power play time. Stanley doesn't use
exactly. Capobianco is a power play specialist.
So anyways, I mean, again, like I said, I would just say quickly, just to finish that thought off, is just I can't give you an answer because Rick Bowness kind of hedged, right? He said, like, look, when he was asked about if Ville Heinola is the easy answer because he would just go back to the AHL easily, and let me tell you something, the Moose wouldn't be upset to get they'd be very happy to get Jansen Harkins back when they're playing Laval tomorrow night, and they'll be very happy to get back whomever they get back from the Jets as these players get healthy, because of course, the Jets are bursting at the seams with guys who are, the 23-man roster plus on IR. So the fact is the Moose are going to get back some players, provided that if they need to clear waivers, they clear waivers. But it's going to make for a very interesting, because like a guy like Ezzy, guy like Kevin Stanlund, he's not coming out of the lineup, right? Michael Esimon. Okay. I still, and Drew, as far as I know, we don't know why he was, they went 11-7, right? So
no, there was
I'm a little surprised by that, by the way, that there would nothing be.
Well, we talked about it. I mean, the only thing that really makes sense is to be
certain about Morrissey.
For Morrissey,
makes sense.
right?
That makes sense.
I mean, because you haven't seen 11-7 before this year, right?
Well, you don't want to go 12-6 with a guy who's iffy and then end up with 5D for an extended period of the game. I mean, if it happens, it happens. Because injuries happen obviously mid-game. We see it all the time. But you don't. If a guy is iffy at the skate, you don't want to get caught with your pants down and be down 5 to 5D very early in a game.
And there's going to be like Jansen Harkins. We expect he hasn't been officially reassigned, right, Dave? Unless I'm mistaken.
No, he hasn't.
I don't think he's been reassigned. So he was technically a healthy scratch, but he wasn't in the dressing room, right? So Harkins is going to be reassigned. We expect, and then most likely there's going to be at least one more player that's reassigned. And I agree with you, Dave. As it stands now, you would probably a couple of weeks ago have thought it was Kevin Stenlund that would be the first to be reassigned, but there's a good chance it's going to be Mikey Esimont.
I would think you're probably right there. Stenlund, that line has played, again, that line, you don't see it on the score sheet, but for the most part, I thought they were effective. That's a big bodied line right there.
Yeah. Stenlund's a great
and for the record, can win faceoffs.
Yeah, he can win faceoffs. He can play on the wing. He's just a hard worker. Like, he has a little bit of an offensive touch, but he's not a guy that you're expecting. Like, that's bonus. If he gets not Rick bonus, that's a bonus.
bonus.
Exactly. So I agree. I think Stenlund has proven himself as a guy that can be a solid, fourth liner. So, I mean, look, things are only going to get better for the Jets with Ehlers, Perfetti, and Schmidt coming back, and then Wheeler and Manalainen. We expect, not that far off from those three, right? So, I mean, not everybody's going to be able to stick up with the Jets, which is a good thing, right? Like, and the thing is, Dave's talked about this before too. I mean, Jeff Malott is a guy that, you can make an argument that he should have been, given a call up, but Jeff Malott maybe doesn't have the same type of, pro pedigree, defensive forward pedigree as Kevin Stenlund, right? So that's why I imagine Stenlund was chosen ahead of Jeff Malott, but there's other guys, Alex Limoges, Dave has talked about a lot. Like, there's other guys that are knocking at the door. So the fact that the Jets are this far down the depth chart, and you're talking about, it being hard to send these guys back. Like Esimont, I thought, his play has dropped a little bit, Dave, but for a while there, he was a regular in the lineup, and he was, we were calling him Charlie Hustle. Like, he was a guy that was noticeable out there, even if he wasn't, on the score sheet. So, I mean, the Jets' depth has definitely improved as opposed to last year.
Speaking of Charlie Hustle, I'm fairly certain that Pete Rose was on my flight from Cincinnati to Minnesota yesterday or 2 days ago. I didn't want to disturb him, but when I walked in, he was, I don't know why he'd be going to Minnesota necessarily, but I walked in on the plane, and fortunately he was sitting up there in business class because, at least if you're the all-time hits leader, you should sit in business class in my books. And he was decked out and wearing a Reds hat, and he had some sunglasses on, but I definitely did a double take, and he definitely sort of gave me a nod. And so, I got to fly with baseball royalty. No word if he gambled on the flight landing or not, like Kramer at the airport on Seinfeld.
I was going to ask you if you were wearing any Betway gear. I was going to say, like, if that would have rubbed him the wrong way, if you came over and talked to him with the big Betway hoodie or t-shirt. But that's pretty cool. As you mentioned, hits leader, one of the best players of all time. Pretty cool.
One of the best players of all time, indeed. But I thought that was a little bit of there's a random segue, you mentioning Charlie Hustle as well. Hardest hitting comment. We're going to get into some contest giveaway time there. As the hardest hitting comment for tonight's Winnipeg Jets 3-2 victory over the Calgary Flames. Who is getting a toque to keep them warm, courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck?
Yeah, it's not the coldest, but like, you still need a toque. So we're going to give it to Robert Starr. We see Robert often in the IC postgame show and the Saturday show. You've got it up there, Drew. Like this comment. Jets have done an awesome job weathering the storm of all the injuries with this crucial 3-game win streak. Now, if 88, 91, and 27, obviously talking about Schmidt, Perfetti, and Ehlers are back, it will take time to get back into form, especially Ehlers. We talked about that. Nobody's expecting Ehlers to score a hat trick in his first game back, but I wouldn't put it past him. The type of player he is, I would actually expect him to score a goal in his first game back. But I agree. I mean, I think especially the last couple of games. I didn't watch any of the Vancouver games, so I can't speak to that, even though I think the Jets played a pretty good game in Sam Gagne's number 1,000 game. But in the last two games, I mean, the Jets haven't played their A games, but they also have been missing a lot of their best players. What they have been missing is, namely Perfetti and Ehlers, but those guys are coming back. So like that comment, Robert, send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com, or slide it to my DMs at ICSEG, and Tough Duck will send you a toque.
There you go. Congratulations to Robert, winner of tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. We have a unique code word that we have to announce for tonight's game. That has to do with the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. Here's where I go through my spiel about how you enter the Illegal Curve merchandise contest.
A fresh new Illegal
contest,
Curve merch
because it's now January, so everything is reset. All your past entries are scrapped. You got to start.
Everything is new again, Drew.
Everything is new in January. Everything is new in 2023. You click the link in the show description. It says Illegal Curve Merchandise Contest, and there's a contest link. You click that link. If you can't find it in the show description here on the YouTube page, then you go to our website, illegalcurve.com. You basically open up any article, and you click the link there. You'll see a whole bunch of tasks that you need to do in order to gain entries in the Illegal Curve Merchandise Contest. Do one task, gain one entry. Maybe that's good enough for you. Then you got your one entry. The more you do the tasks, the more consistently you do the tasks, the more consistently you interact with everything we do here at Illegal Curve, the more entries you're going to get. And as a result, the more chances you're going to have to win some of our great Winnipeg Jets merchandise that we give away here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Dave Minuk, the unique code word for the Illegal Curve contest for tonight. Please explain Callaway Park to the good people in the audience.
First of all, I'm furiously trying to figure out who was the Joker, Frosty, who already somehow guessed the unique code word. There's no way Frosty got, although I will admit though, Drew, there was part of me that was wondering if I had already used this one before.
I don't think so, because I'm not familiar with Callaway Park.
Okay, well, Callaway Park.
It's a park.
It's
a park in Alberta. It's actually a park in Calgary.
It's a park in Calgary. It's got a great. When I was a kid, when my uncle was a professor of medicine out in the University of Calgary, went to visit him, and he took me to Callaway Park in Calgary. It had some. It's kind of. I don't want to say it was like Tinkertown, but it's kind of like that idea. So Callaway Park is it, and somehow one of you, I suspect Frosty. I'm gonna go figure it out right now. Already guessed the unique code word. So well done, Frosty. I will actually. Now there's already been 17 of you who have claimed it. Boy, you guys are fast. So hold on, let's go see who the first person was. Dieter, well done. Lisa, Les, Jason, Linda, Darwin. Oh, Frosty wasn't. Bruce. All right, Bruce. Well, I think you were the first person to guess it, unless it's not giving me the order. No, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't Bruce. I don't know, boys. Anyways, all I know is that someone guessed
it
early.
It's like watching Dave's inner monologue, as he's going through things, but we're just getting to hear it instead.
Well, I mean, because I'm furious. I don't know how there was one person who guessed it. Anywho, point is, Callaway Park. It was fun when I was a kid. Went there with my uncle, and I tried to go a little off the beaten path with that one. And yeah, Calgary Disneyland. There you go. Thank you, Manny Fran, for giving me that heads up. You know, could have gone with the dinosaurs, something along those lines. Yeah, roller coasters.
I stay off the roller coasters.
See, I'm with Justin Fung. The way I described it was like a Calgary Tinkertown.
I'm with you, Ezzy. I stay off the roller coasters too. My inner ear gets it gets all wonky.
It's funny. I was never a big.
Puke. I don't want to go on a roller coaster and then puke all over myself.
I will say I was never.
There's other ways I can do that.
You do that just by drinking excessively and eating excessively.
Yeah, exactly.
Much healthier.
I will say I was never a big roller coaster person. However, I tried. Which one did I do? I think it was the Hulk one in Orlando, and that was fun. But overall, I wouldn't do it. I'm not a big roller coaster dude. Hate heights.
I'm not a roller coaster guy either. That's I go on the Ferris wheel with my kids. I don't like heights. I'm not and the Ferris wheel is enough for me. Just I'm not a big Ferris wheel.
I wouldn't even do that.
I belong on the ground. I belong on solid ground. Yeah. Swimming, I'm okay with. As swimming pool, I'm fine with that. But I'm a solid ground guy. Yeah. I can't dunk. I don't need to get air underneath me. I'm good on the solid ground. More importantly, or Callaway Park, CALAWAY, just not Callaway like the golf brand, but if they're looking to sponsor, hint, Callaway with one L. And
you're more of a tailor-made guy, Drew.
Okay, that's fine. I do have a tailor-made driver as well, but I'm willing to sell out to the highest golf bidder, no questions about it. So Callaway Park, CALAWAY Park, all one word, is your unique code word for the Illegal Curve contest. But we have a grand prize winner to announce, Dave M. For all the contests in December, we have a grand prize winner. We're sending somebody to an NHL game of their choosing, which means that the grand prize, so from now on, the first game of every month is going to be where we announce the grand prize winner from the previous month. So it'll happen again in early February and early March and early April.
Hold on, Drew. Remember, there's no games in early February, so we'll probably do this one at the end of January.
Well, that's just the way the schedule falls. That's not my fault.
Yes.
Hold on,
before
we get, you got the comment up there from our good friend.
I know. I thought it was very interesting.
So did that mean
Tinkertown was
Brent,
originally
did they
in
move
Regina?
it? Like, did they physically move all of the rides and everything from Regina?
Brent's an architect, so I would imagine, and a bit of a historian as well. So I would imagine he's not just pulling that out of thin air, boys. I would imagine that.
Oh no! I wasn't questioning it. I was just saying,
like any good architect, Brent is going to need to consult with an engineer before giving us his answer.
That's funny, but no, I'm curious if he means like there was another Tinkertown, like that was the first one in Regina, or all of the infrastructure was actually moved from Regina.
I would suspect it is the latter, not the former.
Yeah, I would think that Dave's probably right. And Brent will, of course, update us in the chat, assuming he's not too insulted by my engineering comment there. But I think he knows it's all in good fun. And my father-in-law, speaking of going back to the grandfather clock and the hat, my father-in-law is an engineer, so I do have to I have to side with team engineer in this case. And no offense, Brent.
Okay, the winner.
Can the next unique code word be Fun Mountain Hot Tub?
Sure.
That thing was disgusting.
Congratulations to Scott Holmes. Holmes is the first winner of the Legal Curve Grand Prize for the season.
Yes.
The December winner, Scott Holmes. So, Scott, you want a pair of tickets to an NHL game of your choice for next month. So I'm going to email you. Actually, I'm going to get your email to the people who are supplying us with those tickets, and they will be in contact with you. So congratulations to Scott. And
by the way, have you confirmed with our friends at Betway? Like, can he pick a game if there's a game overseas, or is it just in North America?
I think it has to be in the contingent.
I believe I said an NHL game, Dr. Ginsburg. So as long as
I'm just trying to. Hey, I mean, Pepsi Fighter Jet was 7 million points, right? Like, I just want to make sure that there's no.
Did you watch that documentary there, Ezzy?
No, I haven't. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, neither have I. But
it looks good. As he talked about,
I've been watching Harry and Meghan I've watched the whole thing like at least 11 times. So I just don't watch anything else. I just keep rewatching Harry and Meghan.
That's what I sort of thought. I thought that you did actually go outside.
I'm not joking, by the way. I've actually watched it 11 times. I'm joking.
Yeah, you didn't go outside in Mexico. You were just glued to the TV set watching Harry. You actually watched it in Spanish, so you could get practice up on your Spanish.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Buenas noches, Drew.
Yes, yeah. Dos cervezas, por favor, is basically what I think you were saying over and over again. More likely,
and the mojitos. Yeah.
In any event, congratulations. Yeah, Scott Holmes. Congratulations to Scott Holmes, winner of the grand prize of an NHL game of your choosing, presumably within North America. And we'll be in touch with you. Dave will take care of all that on his end, right?
I got it.
There you go, Dave M., the man with the plan here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. We got a couple days off. Friday, next action for the Winnipeg Jets, Tampa Bay Lightning. They've already billed it as Vasilevsky versus Hellebuck and all the promotions, which means I assume David Riddick isn't going to get the start, although that would be very funny. As somebody who always enjoys a little bit of chaos, it would be funny if that was to occur, but I would not expect that to be the case. Friday, Jets and Lightning, 9:45 p.m. The post-game show. Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. back here on this fine YouTube channel. And then again, Sunday afternoon, 4:45 p.m. after the Jets and the Canucks wrap up the season series with yet another game between these two teams. It's like 3 games in the span of 3.5 weeks, something like that. So the Jets and the Canucks on Sunday as well. Want to say a big thank you, Frosty Winnipeg. Hope you're ready. Big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. I hope Frosty's updated the ticker to say Kelly Taylor is performing at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club this
Good
week.
Saskatchewan boy, right?
Dental
right
Center.
there.
He is a great Saskatchewan boy, does a lot of stuff with hockey and hockey players. He's performed in all sorts of NHL dressing rooms. He is very popular, so you will see some players, I suspect, at Rumors this week.
Let's get him on our show.
Kelly Taylor. What'd you say, Ezzy?
Let's get him on our show. Let's have him on.
Maybe we'll see. Maybe we can hook it up
Do you
for
think
Saturday morning.
I have a question though. Do you think he could actually follow up Spencer being the second unexpected guest of On a Legal Curve?
Well, he would be, a little different, probably circumstances. We'd invite Kelly.
Nobody can follow up Spencer. Spencer's in a class of his own.
I'm not sure I can follow up Spencer.
Keep up with Spencer.
Yeah,
Spency.
I'm not sure I can do it. So
Spencer and gang,
it's
actually,
sort of a lost cause.
Don't forget Spencer's friends.
Yeah, Linden Market.
Drew, Spencer only comes on when you're not on the show, by the way.
That's fair. Dr. Les Reikus and the team at Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, they're the official title sponsor of this post-game show, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's. They're decided to put additional resources into this nonsense that we do. We thank them for that. Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and the Keg support these fine businesses because their continued support of Illegal Curve hockey. Winnipeg Jets victorious tonight, 3-2 over the Calgary Flames. We're back in action Friday night, 9:45 with the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button. Follow us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, follow us on all of our social media, and tell your friends, tell your family.
Drew,
yes, Dave.
Before I just to explain to Mr. Patty Bates, can you only win the grand prize with these entries? Yes. Any entries
yes,
will get you a chance to win the grand prize. So just be aware of that. Anytime you enter the contest,
yes,
it accumulates throughout the course of the month, and then finally the last draw I do of the month will be the grand prize winner. So everybody, and the truth is, all the people who have won, including Spencer Sutton, who's a winner, can also win. Phyllis's as well can also win the grand prize. So it's you don't get eliminated. Your entries are still there, so there can be repeat winners. That is possible. So just so you know that everything accumulates at the end of the month. So you've got 14 more games plus, like I said, we'll give you many opportunities. You can follow Legal Curve, you can follow all of us. You can go to our TikTok, go to the YouTube page, go to the website legalcurve.com. That's worth, I think, 3 entries every single day. That's an easy, 90 extra votes. Let's just do it. Not hard. Every single day, go to legalcurve.com. Get your Jets information. And I want to
put the work in. That's what you got to do. That's what you're saying. Put the work in. Put the work in.
And more importantly, a big shout out to the people who are jumping onto the podcast and leaving us comments, because I noticed another 2 in the last couple of days. So I really appreciate that folks are doing that. It's really helpful for us, for the podcast, for people to become more aware of it. And Drew, I'll let you give back your spiel, but I just want to thank people and answer that question.
There you go. Exactly. You took away some of my spiel, but it just made it a little bit easier on me. So I appreciate it. We'll be back in action Friday night, 9:45 p.m. here on our YouTube channel, all of our social media platforms. In the meantime, illegalcurve.com is where you're going to find the latest Winnipeg Jets news and, of course, audio. So we'll see you on Friday. Until then, for Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show here on YouTube and all of our social media platforms.